Powerful Typhoon Saola nears China and Hong Kong. A ferocious typhoon is approaching the heavily populated areas of the Pearl River Delta, a Category 4 still on the Saffir-Simpson scale, 21.8 degrees north, 116.5 degrees east at this moment. It has winds of 145 miles per hour and an estimated central pressure of 929 millibars as of 6 a.m. Local time in China and Hong Kong. 7 a.m. at Tokyo, moving west-northwest at 6 miles per hour, that's 10 kilometers per hour. Those sustained winds, that's 230 kilometers per hour, with higher gusts. A very impressive storm on satellite imagery once again after a small dip, but it's still got a very small wind field extending out most in the northwest quadrant up to 100 nautical miles there. And you can see its current position displayed on the map. An orange typhoon warning is in effect for southern Fujian and parts of eastern Guangdong provinces in China. It is 130 kilometers from Jiazi, 161 from Shanwei, 247 from Hong Kong, 266 from Shenzhen, and 306 from Macau. A Signal 8 warning is now in effect for Hong Kong and Signal 3 in effect in Macau. So gale force winds expected, and we might see an increase in those warnings as it gets closer. Blue typhoon warnings extending as far as the border, the western extent of Guangdong province. Given that a landfall is not certain, the primary hazard now is storm surge as the storm makes a very close pass to southern China, Hong Kong and Macau in the next 24 hours. Saola remains a powerful storm and strong winds are likely to impact highly populated areas, and rainfall totals could exceed 300 millimeters in some locations. So certainly those other threats are there as well, and a landfall can't be ruled out, and it will have very high winds, although they will be decreasing very quickly when it does interact with land. Over the weekend it will quickly lose its tropical force winds, at least in its extent, and then it may lose tropical storm status early next week as it meanders around and stalls quite a bit in the northern part of the South China Sea throughout the course of this coming week. Unknown really what exactly will happen there. JTWC gives it a little bit more credit. They keep it as a tropical storm for that period, but it will be we do expect that it will weaken very quickly once it starts, but it hasn't started yet and it's getting very close to land. JMA quite a bit lower right now with 125 mile per hour winds, JTWC up at 140. Our analysis is based on the most recent satellite trends and radar looking really good as well, depicting what looks like a little bit of strengthening. ADT estimates, satellite also having similar values. Here's a graphic from Hong Kong Observatory showing the expected chances of tropical storm force winds, gale force winds, around about 75% in Hong Kong there, and a little bit higher further towards the east towards Shanwei. A landfall for that area can't be ruled out as the storm moves through. There it is on the GFS model, just about clipping those southern extremities and then moving right back over into the South China Sea, missing even Hainan and turning right back round to the east, and what's left of its influence might reach Taiwan later in the week next week. Zooming in very close in there, it looks like it's actually a Hong Kong landfall, probably Category 1 or 2 by that point, and you can see Typhoon Haikui moving in there as well, impacting Taiwan at first and then moving inland over China to the north of Hong Kong and that whole region, Guangzhou. Here's another view from the simulated radar reflectivity, implying there that the north and northwestern sides will have the highest amounts of rainfall during the storm's passage, and it looks like that will be the case because that's the highest extent of winds at this point as well, northwestern quadrant. So that's what we'd really be worried about there, the northern side of the storm packing the highest winds and its most intense rainfall periods. Some of the areas impacted by Saola will also be impacted by Haikui as well, at least in terms of some extra rainfall, and that could be a problem for some areas further east in Guangdong province. Looking at total rainfall accumulations then, And this is over just the next 96 hours, because there's not much point looking beyond that really, because not much else happens. And we're looking at quite substantial amounts of rainfall along the coast of Guangdong. 6 inches there, that's 150 millimeters. Zooming in on the Pearl River Delta region, Hong Kong there getting up towards 7 inches, that's over 150 millimeters. And a few hot spots to the west near Zhaoqing, getting up to around 8 inches as well, that's 200 millimeters for some inland areas. So certainly there is that potential for flooding, flash flooding, landslides, and along with that, worry for a surge at the moment, given how strong this storm and how deep a storm this has been. Sea surface temperatures for Saola aren't really going to be an issue either. Ahead of it, they're staying at around 29 degrees Celsius, maybe even pushing close to 30 in a few spots. These temperatures read a little bit low. Of course, they're in Fahrenheit, that's 84 degrees, that's 29 Celsius, pushing close to 30. And the whole area there, still quite a hotbed, and plenty of energy for this storm to slurp up. But it will be on a very much weakening trend when it does pass those major conurbations and then swivels around towards the southwest. But look at this satellite imagery right now, looking really fantastic on the infrared, even on the unenhanced views, and the eye really starting to, well, come out a little bit more. But it's the eye wall that's strengthened again in those last few hours. You can see it really circling around. You can see all of this imagery live on the Force 13 website, force13.com/satellite, and just how close it's getting now to the coastline. Like we said, 130 kilometers from the closest point of land, so it is getting very close, and tropical storm force winds are probably starting to reach the coast already at this point, and it will continue on that movement towards the west. Can't rule out a Hong Kong direct landfall, or even in Shenzhen or anywhere north of there, all highly populated places. Here it is on radar imagery, looking fantastic in its appearance. Eastern side a little bit weaker by the looks of things, but a very powerful typhoon is on its way.